which peak D is not one.
Yeah. Point I was getting to is while I am not a pro peak D, I do not agree that they get funding from a DHF that I do vote on if they are doing the advertising as to gain revenue. And I do think that any project that is a private project that can gain from the DHF in establishing their business should be turning something back HF from the profit they make.
Okay, guys, here we go.
This is why it's really important that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, Elmer, let me bridge to you actually, because I'd just like to let everybody know that this is the Deep Web3 Secrets Emergency DHF Hive Podcast, and so on this episode of Deep Web3 Secrets, we are going to be talking about some recent moves, maybe based on our discussions and open discussions. And the game continues, but Block Trades has voted the return proposal. We are recording here in the Hive General Discord. The reason we talk about Hive a lot on this podcast is because Hive is a place where different decentralized communities meet, and it exists that way at a protocol level. And today we already have a lot of people here for this emergency podcast. So first of all, before we were recording, we had some observations from the Hive. And I just want to table those. If you could write both of those points out, Hive, in the chat. Very valid points for moments when Peak D is getting funded. But as of this moment, Peak D has 0 proposals funded. Nobody has any proposals funded. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Elmer here. Elmer, I believe yours is the Like To project. Is that right?
That is correct. And I think it's interesting that the whatever's happened today, because I've been thinking about my position and our project on the chain for quite a while, and whether it is healthy that we have private projects that are receiving significant sums of money, but not really showing much for it in terms of monthly active users, growth in stake, that kind of thing. It doesn't make sense to me why the budget is so high when obviously, like, I have a pretty good idea of how much things cost from the Like To perspective, knowing that we've got probably as many or more monthly active users than several projects that have been funded in the past. Some of them are not now, but for instance, Buzz, ActiveFit, Speak, some of these projects have been funded for many years, actually, of the order 500 or more HPD per day, and yet they are struggling with 100, 200 monthly active users.
Elmer,
and I
hold
think
on.
that it's just not very good and valuable spending.
I love that. I want to ask you specifically a few more questions, because this is as good a point of any to start. We need to have a conversation. My biggest criticism of the DHF, because I hear a lot of different things, and I'm a sociologist. I love listening to people, but my biggest criticism of the DHF was very different than everybody else's I was hearing. My biggest criticism was, where are people talking about this? Where is the public square where the DHF and the people participating in it, voters and proposers and projects and everyone, where is the daily voice chat where we're all talking about what's going on? And obviously that's one of the biggest criticisms some particular proposals receive, is lack of posts about where the money's going. But I find it's very terrible, because there is such a dearth of places to talk. We end up getting, whenever we do talk about it, we get bogged down in details. So I've asked the Hive to put some, he has a very cool observation here. That's a completely bogged down detail. So I'm going to hope you, Elmer, could avoid talking about this. But I do want to, just as we skim the surface of the lake here, I do want to ask you, as a project manager, before today, just like over the last 2 years, what did you feel were the requirements for passing a proposal? Like when you said, I want to pass a proposal, what should I make sure my project does? Or I don't want to pass a proposal because I don't think my project X, Y. Could you talk to me a little bit about what the culture around expectations on passing a proposal was in your mind as a project manager?
Well, I mean, I've never sought to have public funding before, because I don't believe that should be the route that everyone goes to first, because it's sometimes, most of the time, malinvestment. Because if you become reliant on it, then you're not really building the necessary survival skills to see through things like a nasty bear market or become profitable and valuable to the chain, right? So for me, I actually wrote about it in some discussions, and I said that the threshold for passing should actually be more than 50% of the staked hive. So whatever that number is, I think the total staked hive is around 170 million worth of HP. I think we should be aiming to get half of that as a passing threshold, because remember, you're deciding for all of the stakeholders where this public money is going to go, right? And if your bar is at 30 million, then it's not even a sixth of the total HP that has decided that they're just going to chuck money at stuff.
Well, I definitely am a big believer that a change was needed. And remember that we need to play these open source political games in the fourth dimension. This is just like on the markets, arbitrage, prices, order books. The DHF is a 24/7, 365 governing mechanism. So just because today it says 65 million, is that what it says? Just because today it's 61.89 million HBD to get funding does not mean that number will be that same number tomorrow. In fact, I believe that Block Trades had made a very smart move, and I hope that Block Trades ends up taking a step back from DHF funding, because honestly, it was getting to the point where everybody was like, oh, you only need Block Trades vote, and nobody was focused on users. And the people that did focus on users, like Ho with wallet transactions, it didn't feel very genuine, right? It didn't feel very genuine. He's up there getting God knows what he's doing. I mean, I'd love to know what Huo is doing. It seems important. He's asking for a lot of money. What is it? I have no idea. And it doesn't matter because he didn't need my vote. He didn't. Now he does. Now he does. Now he's not getting funding. Is that bad for Hive? Is that good for Hive? I don't know. I as a user don't have the capacity, the technical capacity to know. But what I do know Hive needs is a discussion. It needs a little bit of game. So I believe we'll see a lot of people begin to remove their vote, or at least reevaluate their vote from the return proposal. We'll see this number float down a little bit more. And let's see who's next on the next one to be funded. If 5 million people remove their vote from the return proposal, would be VSC. And then Core Development Proposal Year 5 HOO at about 10 million would have to remove their vote from the return proposal for HOO's core development, whatever that is. We don't know. I don't think anyone in this room knows, but it must be important. And so is it 10 million HP from the return proposal important? We will find out. I think Block Trades, what he did is invited us to play a game. And that game involves paying attention. Let's see how much of that 170 million HP, I think it is. It might be 189. I've heard a couple of numbers. I haven't looked myself, but it's changing, and it will always be changing in the fourth dimension, like these government governance processes. So Elmer, I appreciate that. I also have never considered proposal funding for anything. But is that because I had some expectation of what things should be proposed? I'm starting to think that we need to treat this like a game. We need to play, all of us, together and compete for our ideas and our ideals. But I'm glad the bar's been. So some people
ironically,
are glad. Yeah, go ahead, Elmer. Go ahead.
When you introduce the idea of the DHF, you're actually taking out competition. It's funding versus private sector funding, right? So obviously in the US, you had people complain about the government funding or giving loans to Tesla and other companies, and people complaining about it probably really wanted the funding for themselves. It wasn't that they disagreed with the idea of the government stepping in. It was that the government didn't help them, right? And the problem with this is, as a project founder, it competes with private in such a big way that we can no longer compete, actually, because we're not just competing with that project. We're competing with their expenditure. We're competing with people who can spend money in a way that we can't spend money, right? And it also encourages people to never actually invest in the same way that we do. So let me just tell you what we've done. We've bought around 2 million Hive, like net, okay, powered it up for years and years, like 4 or 5 years, funded everything ourselves, never asked for a dime from anyone, right? How many other projects have done that? I would say 3Speak. What else? Not much, right? Now, why is it that we can't encourage other projects to do the same? You know, when you have people who say they have 10 years worth of runway in terms of funding, then why can't you afford to spend 250K in 2 years to onboard users for your own platform, right? Well, Zaku, I would just respond to that by saying that Splinterland did ask for about $500,000 recently. I wasn't.
Wait, hold on now,
recognizing
Elmer, can I just bridge through here, because you are saying some of the most intelligent things I've heard in a long time, and a lot of these ideas crazy people have been saying, but all of a sudden when you say it now in this moment, it means a lot. And I would hate to bicker in this moment about minor details, because the fact is, including Splinterlands, the 3Speak, which also got $3 million in funding, but okay, and those three are nice examples because there are success stories. They're not, even in the case of 3Speak, it was Dan buying 10 million Hive or whatever it was, that led to them being supported as much as they had. So I believe those three examples are our champions. Dan bought 10 million Hive first and then did a proposal. Okay, so you guys bought 2 million. You haven't done a proposal yet. Maybe you never will. Great. I do believe that these three champions, Splinterlands, even if they asked for money once and didn't get it, I mean, it's a detail. But, Howo has not built a business, and Value Plan has kind of a weird, we don't know what the business is, but I have noticed in Colombia that my efforts are getting pushed out by flooding of Venezuelan HBDs into the crypto space with what I consider to be undereducated social media girls who can't onboard tech developers like John Tomaszewski. And so I have been pushing Value Plan to give me more of the money, but I'm happy as hell, I guess, if the conclusion is nobody gets any money, because then I'll be the only one left talking, because these people won't be going to any conferences if they weren't getting the HBD. I would be.
Speak. I would say to Elmer that all them things you highlighted there, or the majority of them, were highlighted back at the beginning when AIM hard fork came about. In those meetings in the PAL server where it was supposed to be anybody I spoke and I highlighted many of them things that come from that DHF. And I offered alternatives that nobody would listen. And the alternatives I offered are the same things you speak should be, or I think they provide that. And all of what you do say, I do think there needs to be development of a demand for Hive token. That without that, we are going nowhere.
Well, that brings us to things that we talked about on previous podcasts. So I think that's exactly right. And we have Solo Miner in the chat. I am glad. Where did he say that? He's glad the bar has been raised. And I think that is a good way to think about this. I frankly think the bar is going to start lowering itself. But we'll see how low it gets, right? It's a limbo bar. But even if the DHF continues to fund things, and maybe things could, like I said, I fought a long time that the things that were getting funded would spend the money better. And this may stimulate some of that as well. But we definitely need to make sure, one, that we're not flooding or hurting private investment or disincentivizing private investment in the governance token. Yeah, I mean, people have to sell, and you have to let them. And I dump Hive when it gets expensive, and I buy a whole lot of it when it gets cheap. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Azurkan is the right idea. I think maybe he's a little overzealous about the Krampus, but okay. I mean, I think the right idea, at least in terms of groups, if not individual accounts. That's what Krampus is. Krampus is judging everybody by the same bar, and I think it's terrible. Or it has bad consequences, at least. It may tell you something, but as a group, let's say, of or EcoBank, Juan Manuel has not powered up any Hive power, but EcoBank is powered up enough for 10 users to have a very nice Krampus score. So, I think as sociological groups, we could judge a little bit, if at least for a metric of success, if Hive is coming or going from the ecosystem. Ed, I need some cover here. I need some cover. Get in on the mic, Ed.
Why do you make me work for these things? I was actually just getting ready to post your own Krampus for Eco Instant. You, unfortunately, my friend, have an actually decent ratio of 1.52. Not to steal your thunder or your
But that's what I mean. I can cover over like I have 10 onboards who, maybe the first 200 high power they made, they dumped. Yeah, do eCoin stats next. Let's see eCoin stats. Or EcoBanker. EcoBanker is infinite. It's never posted. I guess it's earned some curation. I don't know. Anyways, okay. So
Solo has a 0.23 ratio. Solo, I'm not quite where you're at, but I'm pretty good. But it's the one thing with the KE ratio. If you are a relative minnow like me with a whopping 2,500 hive power, you only have to make a couple of buys to have a very nice ratio when you're at the lower thresholds. When you're at the threshold that Solo Miner is, that is an excellent ratio. He is a staking fiend. So it looks like and Hive Trending can probably tell me if I'm wrong, and Eco can probably tell me if I'm incorrect, given that I am a relative Hive newbie. With the bar being raised so high on the return proposal, if I'm interpreting the proposals page correctly, there is now only one funded proposal in Hive for
That's
DHF.
right, Ed. We have ecency, which, apart from being the top voted proposal, it has the most user votes of accounts of any proposal. It's ecency, and this is Deep Web3 Secrets. The Hive Decentralized HIVE Fund is currently saving of its 232,983 Hive dollars per day. It's spending only 396 for that ecency proposal, and everything is being saved for a later day, a rainy day, no day at all.
There's an interesting thing Solo said. We will see this how this affects sell pressure. So if you take something like D, and if they don't start selling off now because they need the fund, they never needed that funding in the bloody first place.
Well, technically, if they do need the funding, we may see no short-term effect. They may power down. They may affect their own Krampus scores to continue funding if it's so important, right?
That sounds likely. The interesting thing, though, it does kind of force this conversation. And on that note, I'm glad Solo is here, because I think, Solo, you are like 11th or 12th in Hive Power for the vote on the return proposal. So it's an interesting conversation for people to have. It's an interesting conversation for people to have as far as, okay, in 2025, how much do we want flowing out? What sorts of things do we want the DHF to really fund? How is the DHF really working for Hive? Right? Is it bringing us value? Are we able to measure that value? And then the other conversation that maybe a lot of people haven't thought about, and, I'm not a veteran of the flagging wars, but getting back to building real consensus, right? Because block trades and everyone else who has weighed in on that return proposal has set the bar for consensus very high. And so I think people will have to take a look and think about how they talk to each other. And if you want to get things done, we're going to have to start talking to each other in an engaging and productive way. Wow. Eco has posted an account with a Krampus ratio of 0.11.
Not just any account. This is the Synergy Fund account. This is the nucleus of everything we've built on Hive, and it shows, right? So I think I paper over a few dozen locals while they learn. I'm going to give the example of my brother-in-law. I'll put his account, his recent post in. When he started, he made some money, and then at some point he needed that money, and he took it all out. He would have had a terrible Krampus score, but he's back again, and he's investing again because, that moment when it became real to him showed him the value. It was a connection, a synaptic connection. And now, with the NGO that we're building, it's all very clear. It's part of the process. I think minnows and redfish, they need to be able to dump I mean, can we use it to figure out if their post is actually valuable? Maybe. But I think we have to be careful at letting numbers control our destinies. Numbers are tools, they serve us.
Well said. Well said. It's probably a metric to consider with other data points, and then our own knowledge, right? Our own senses. Speaking of Krampus ratio, though, I'm sure a lot of you veterans probably think like the Saturday Savers Club, and some of the posts may be kind of tedious content to see come through, or it may seem a little bit silly. But Shanny Bear, who runs that Saturday Savers Club, ran an analysis of all the participants, and the aggregate Krampus ratio, or the KE value, I think was 0.8, indicating that everyone who was participating on that, in average, was a saver, and not an extractor, at least in a numerical sense. I might be able to write some theoretically or nominally good content that might extract some of your time that's not worth whatever hype you vote for it. Silo says, interesting to hear. Really glad the KE ratio is being talked about. Well, it's a number. It's a number or a metric, and we can use our brains and our experience. Yes, it's data, and we can figure out if it's a useful metric, and it's prompting these conversations. Eco, I'm going to turn it back over to you because I desperately need some coffee.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, because it's an emergency session, I've got we've got a whole team here. And so it's a little noisier than normal, but, we're having a blast. Let's wrap it. I mean, we've been talking about data. Let's wrap it back around to the DHF. The most important thing to me on Hive, and I'm somebody who's worked with open source development for 10 years now. I mean, the time really flies. So even before blockchain, the most important thing is open communication, channels, connections, the Metcalfe number. I mean, like, a lot of people say, oh, that's really basic, but really read the Metcalfe, networking theory. It's not the nodes, it's the connections, right? So, or the number of the nodes yields the more the connections. So we need experimentation. It's no it is a joke, tribal governance. I mean, different tribes tried it. They're still trying it. It's not maybe a dead idea still, but the lesson that we were able to learn is that really small tribes, token governance is questionable. Hive is the biggest tribe we got. It's the widest net. I don't think it should be political to say how governance works. When you got more tokens, your vote is bigger. Maybe the political part is you don't like how the other guy got his tokens, but, I mean, we can say that, right? We can talk about things in English. But I want to wrap right around to the DHF. We got a Nomad Soul in the house. I'd love to bring him up if he's willing. I mean, just type in the chat, man, if you're up for it. I got like 2 more minutes of intro here, but we are recording here Deep Web3 Secrets. Emergency, emergency, emergency. We are no longer spending any money. And that may be good, that may be bad, but it is what it is. And what it is that now nobody's getting any money. And the Nomad Soul, are you typing? He's typing in the chat. He's going to tell us. Maybe we could talk about this.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, man. Roll it out.
Nice. Hey, yeah, this is pretty nice. I'm glad that I joined on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? I was gonna type this, but I can also say it. I don't feel that comfortable speaking about the DHF right now because of the situation. I think I don't know. There should be some reasoning behind what is going on, and I don't know. I would rather hear if there's ever going to be anything about it. any statements, or like we can just try to find out or to create theories of what is going on. But I mean, in the end, nobody's going to be able to explain what's happening behind the voters' minds, brains,
Well,
however
hold
you
on
want
a
to call it.
second. Hold on a second. You sound like you just woke up because, of course, this is the case. This is always the case that we don't know what other people are thinking. But these games, these types of games, have been played for a very long time. Game theory, tabletop games, decentralized games. Now, I think what we can say for sure is that Block Trades is fed up with something and decided to make a big move. And the big move is used. I mean, I don't think he needs to explain it. It is what it is. He did one click and everybody panicked. And so, what will they do in the panic? That's the important part. It's not about anybody explaining what already happened. It's about what the players are going to do now. I've already said on this show, I believe some people may begin removing their votes from the return proposal. The next thing to be funded would be VSC. VSC could also decide to try to get more votes. And they might meet in the middle. Below VSC is whoa. Let me just read the list here, guys, okay? So we're at 61.8 million. And remember, anybody that votes the return proposal and doesn't vote a proposal could have an outsized effect, right? So I could unvote the return and vote VSC, and I don't have a 250,000 stake. I have a 500,000 stake because I'm playing both pieces. This is a game, guys. This is a game. So about 5 million down is VSC. So 2.5 doubled, or about 10 million down is HOO, core development for about year 5. This guy has been getting money year 5. What is he even doing? We don't know. Okay. Peak D.
Devil's advocate.
50.8. Peak D is very close to HOO. Then HBD stabilizer by this guy, half by this other guy. Vim. Okay. So who was speaking? Who would like to speak?
I'm after losing me thought. Carry on just for a second.
Yeah, no problem. Would it be desirable to have an intermediate mechanism for funding smaller scale proposals? Well, Ed, that's beautiful. That's value plan. That is the middleware of value plan that funds smaller scale activities under the marketing umbrella. And value plan is one thing that's so interesting. I support the idea of value plan, and I support value plan every year spending their money better. I got $600 last year, and I wish it was 6,000 instead of 600, but it was 600, and I onboarded John Tomaszewski with 600. I onboarded $1 million kid with $600. So I know there's value to be captured there. I wish it would be spent better. Now, maybe being unfunded for 2 months will make them make the changes. Is that possible? Is it possible that the screws on all of these people for 2 months and then Block Trades removes his vote and everything goes back to normal, but it won't be normal because everybody will behave now?
Well, I'll just play a bit of devil's advocate. Any of those that are now going like Howell needs to go now and find it there to get him back up. Well, for him to get someone like my support, I would say, well, I remember back at the DHF or the hard fork from Fame and all that there was all these promises made that what would be. But as soon as you got in and then the Hive Witness had that power, they ignored everybody again, and now you're back for votes. So for 4 years, you ignored, to my experience, I'm not saying, but to my experience, people I'm around, these people ask for these votes continuously and talk to everybody to get the Hive blockchain here because they needed them votes and they knew how important it was. But now they don't talk to anybody. There is never a monthly meeting about something going on in Hive from any of those opened info points, it'd be my point. I mean, so extrapolate from that.
Well, this is just the perfect time to mention to everybody I am orange. I am officially orange. And thank you, Hive Trending. My agitation, I've been agitating for 15 or 20 days now. Have you guys noticed? And my 10 days of agitation has earned me the orange role in this Hive Discord. So there's hope, guys. There's hope. I believe, I believe that it's really important. You guys just stop it. You're making me laugh. I believe that what we think of as obstacles is mostly just apathy. And when we get there, nobody's standing in our way. We've been sleeping. It's time to wake up. It's 2025. Trump didn't do this. Trump is riding the same energetic wave. This is the moment, historical moment where we can make change. The social contract is up for grabs, and we need to have a weekly meeting, have a monthly meeting. Every project should have a meeting. We need to activate this channel. We need to blow all the horns. And the people that don't wake up, that just keep floating on, we can say, well, hey, that's probably AI, because it's the human that can, we say in Spanish, derivar en estado de alerta, which is to make changes in the crucial moment. That's the human creative power. It's time for the humans to wake up, guys, and increase your stake. Yeah, we have been, I think, but we need to make our moves too. We need to talk to each other. Even the ones we disagree with, especially over minor points, we need to find the areas of agreement. And we got Cal in here. I just want to I would love to get you on, Cal. I just recorded you guys 3 days ago. I haven't even posted the after show yet. And we got a new emergency, Web3 Secrets. Okay, so, Cal, what we've decided is that Block Trades wants to wake us up. We want to play a game. Will you continue to seek new votes for your proposal? Will you continue to seek to add value, or will you abandon the proposal and figure out something else to do? What is your plan for Leo as someone that was almost there and now nobody gets money? So, walk me through your thought process. Like, I don't think anybody's failure is good for Hive. So, what will your project do? What's next? Like, we were just talking about, like, powering up more. What are the options for projects? So, welcome, Cal. Go ahead. Or type to me that you don't want to talk. There we go. Go ahead, man. Yeah, you're on the air with Deep Web3 Secrets.
Hey, you go. Yeah, thanks for the little intro there. I appreciate it. Yeah, we did just talk about it, and then this morning we were at 99%. So I think it goes to show that the community has a voice, and that voice can be very loud. If like, let's say that if block trades abstained from voting in like on every single project, really, that would be an even playing field, in my opinion, for everybody. And I've been generally a kind of a supporter of that idea that it should be a meritocracy where the community decides what gets funded. And of course, you're always going to have differing opinions. And like I said on the Crypto Cola show the other day, one thing I love about Hive is that you can tell it's decentralized because people have very differing opinions from all sides of the coin. So some people heavily disagree with each other. Some people fully agree with each other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you have is a lot of different points of views coming together for a collective, long-term vision. We all want Hive to succeed, but we all have different ideas of how we get there. I think that that's an indicator of true decentralization. So it's something that I love to see from a discussion perspective. And obviously, I can be, kind of the target of both sides of that. There's some people that really, really love me and love the things that we do within Leo, and there's some people that really dislike what I do and dislike the things that I do within Leo. And You know, despite that, I think it's overall a very healthy thing, and it's a very healthy breakdown of things. So yeah, I think you know, you asked me what my plan is going forward. I mean, I'm going to maintain, you know, status quo, and obviously I'm, you know, continuing to ask the community to support me if they think that my vision is a good one. I think that you should continue supporting, you know, if you see a project, you know, whether on the DHF or elsewhere, and you support, you know, the ideals of that project and what they're trying to achieve, you know, I would say continue to support them. It's not like, you know, it's not like the world is over now. So I wouldn't look at things that way personally. I would still ask for the community to support, you know, in Leo if you want to support us, or if you just have feedback. I know that's one thing I've been reaching out to people about who may not be, you know, my biggest supporters. You know, I've been reaching out and I've been saying, you know, I know it probably is going to seem like I'm reaching out for your vote, but I promise that I'm not. I'm reaching out to see if you're willing to have a conversation and just give me some feedback about what you like or dislike about what I'm doing so I can improve it. Um, you know, regardless of how you end up voting at the end of the day. And I think that that's a good, healthy thing. Like I'm a very public person. I'm always, you know, we've got like 3 different AMAs that we do throughout the week, you know, with the Hive community and Leo community.
Cal, let me
and I always invite people on. I'm always happy to talk publicly.
yeah, let me bridge you there, because I think anyone would be hard pressed to say you aren't doing a lot of good stuff. And so I love that answer. I think that's the right answer for everybody, including Ho-Oh, who wakes up this morning and is surprised by what's going on. I think everybody needs to take a look and ask themselves that question, and I hope more of us than not come to that same conclusion, Cal, that this is what we're doing, you know, and this is what we're doing now. And, you know, there is this energy in the air, 2025 of change, and there's going to be games to be played. I'm not so sure Block Trades has made his final move on the board, but we will see what happens. And so I'm very excited about that. I just want to see who else in the room would love to chime in. Kitty Girl, would you like to say a few words about DHF? Just in general, do you see people start to remove their votes from the return proposal? That's what I think is the next move. Over this week, we're going to see the return proposal start to float downward as people who were voting it reassess their vote. VSC, okay, no problem, Kitty Girl. Okay, well then, yeah, Cal. So you do great work, and my personal belief is that there are very few things missing, you know, little connections and stuff. And you're a tinkerer, and I like that. So, just generally, I support tinkerers in spirit. So keep tinkering, man. And I also have some ideas about what might be holes that could be connected, and we'll be in touch about that. So that's super good. I want to get back then to Elmer. Elmer, you said that your project has powered up 2 million Hive power, and that is the tinkering will never stop. That's the way. What are you tinkering on with that 2 million Hive power right now, Elmer? And would you consider removing your vote from the return proposal now that it's at 61 million?
First of all, I never voted the return proposal, so the only thing I can do is add to it, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's sufficiently high, and it wouldn't change anything anyway. And as for the power, well, I think it's important that you have skin in the game. I did mention this like multiple times in the past, and I think as one of the somewhat popular projects on Hive, I think it's important that you show that and show that you've got a long-term interest, and that for us, you know, I've always said that the way that we win is if everyone else wins with us, and by having a substantial stake, that's the only way it can happen. And the interesting part about the DHF is that the fact that currently most people aren't getting funded, will kind of reveal some cracks. So, for those who survive, I think they will end up thriving. As for us, we've never relied on it, so it's not really a problem for us, right? And I think that kind of like fragility is worth being exposed. So, we can figure out whether we're malinvesting in certain places. And, if things don't work out, then it's actually good for the system to flush it out. That's what I think.
I love that analogy. In fact, I wonder if there's flushing going on multiple levels. This is very interesting. I do believe there's some unproductive investments, but the most interesting thing to me as a sociologist is that the things that I think are not the same things as other people think. And everybody seems to identify one or more specific ones that they don't like. And it's not all the time that they're the ones that I particularly have a gripe with. So that was what I always thought was funny, interesting on a sociological level. I don't generally go around against anything. I am always for solutions, so I never talk much about which ones I don't like. I prefer to make the things that I know I can add value to, like this one could be better in this place. And I hope everybody would do that in the things that they see in front of them. Most local solutions. And this gets back to what the Hive has been talking about. And that is that we have reasons to, they buy pressure, but reason to buy the Hive. And so we set up a business here where Hive is a marketing expense that we'll use to offset the taxes for the productive, some of the taxes that we'll pay for the productive activity we engage in. And so I think if there were more things like that, the free money from the DHF might even be, an aside. But somehow we've been smothered with it. It's like too much firewood has dampened the fire. I'm fascinated still by that point you made. Can you go back to that point and unpack it a little bit about how was it again? Tell me, do you know what I'm talking about, Elmer?
You mean the excessive spending?
Not
and then
that.
unraveling
Specifically that malinvestment might extinguish productive private, driving us out of the market. You had some really good point that I'd love to unpack there about market effects.
So the idea is that if you fund something in a great way that isn't actually doing very good, but it outcompetes something that is doing well but simply doesn't have money, then you're actually destroying something that's possibly better for the system overall, right? Because you're allocating capital to something that is probably excessive or not a good use of that capital. And in doing so, you drive out decent competitors. And so I think that is potentially something that's happening on Hive. Now, I wouldn't say that that's from our exact position, but we certainly felt a bit of that pressure over the years, right? So, for instance, I'm going to name some names because at this point I don't give a fuck. Okay, Dbuzz, 800 HBD per day. I'm looking at monthly active users at this point, and I'm thinking, right, so you're giving us all of this, onboarding, and you're saying that you've got people all over Asia, like 500 people joining every single day. Run the numbers, and you see it's about 150 people active a month after receiving 800 HBD for a year and a half. So what exactly is that money being spent on, right? So I would be happy, actually, if they did increase increase their numbers substantially, because at least it shows that putting money there improves the numbers in some way. The problem is it didn't even do that, right? So that's a really bad case. Now, a better case would be, for instance, Leo, and I'm glad that Cal's here because I'm going to mention it. I think with the amount of money that they received last year, they have actually made incredible strides in their numbers, because I do track this, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't support them last year, but I initially did support them this year. Okay, because the numbers speak for themselves. So if you're going to allocate capital, it has to show in some way. And there are question marks over how you calculate MAUs, etc. But for me, it's the metrics that I care about, which I measure privately. They have gone up, and so there's no question about that. And I think that the reason why I took my vote away was actually not so much all of the discussion around the numbers. It was just more of an overall feeling that we're not in a position where everyone is rolling about in money, and we can afford to be spending a ton of money and stuff. I feel a lot better if we were roaring nearer our previous all-time highs, and then spending a ton of money. And it was funny because the reply to that was that we should be doing the opposite. And so that's just a difference of opinion, right? The opinion that, when we don't have many money, we should be leveraging up and spending even more. Whereas I'm the opposite. I think we should be spending less. And that's I think it's just a difference in how we go about allocating money.
Fascinating. That is incredible. Okay, so, gosh, you had some earlier points, but that final point is very interesting. I believe that, and maybe even because of Leo and their recent efforts to get a lot of votes, they were agitating, in fact. A lot of conversations have started. So what we have now is fascinating, Elmer. Thank you so much. First of all, the conversation I wanted to have was about metrics. I believe that we need to continue to speak, and in public, I applaud Azarkan for the development of new metrics. I can argue with him about his metrics, and isn't that beautiful? I don't have to argue about him. I can argue about numbers, and that's what we should argue about in a constructive, logical way. Talk about metrics. What is it that we want? Is this the right thing to measure? Is more better, less better? Is there a pendulum over time? Okay, so we need to define metrics, and I love the fact that you have private metrics. So that's even another level of the game where you can share some things in some moments about how you value things. But, for a math guy, a back-end guy, maybe you don't share all your secret sauce. Yeah, well, and Saku says there's a lot of dead steak out there, or sleeping steak. A lot of sleeping steak. And so this is fun. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a great distribution event, I think, when we get some Hive pumpage later this year. People are going to be selling, and who's going to be active? What are the companies that are going to be buying Hive? Now, you ended up saying something about market timing that I find fascinating. When is the right moment to take on leverage? Is it when you're seeing success, or is it when you're in having some failures? I believe that what block trades did is a continuation of what Leo did, which is to agitate for sleepy people to wake up, and I hope that they do wake up and either dump or do something, figure it out, vote on things, don't vote on things, but let's establish channels by which we vote our things. Yeah, man, I'm burning it. Okay, so Cal says that he appreciates to take that feedback, and it's very fair. And personally, think that when times are tough, we should be trying to get new investors, users into Hive by any means necessary. But I think your point of view is really well stated. The fact that we can disagree on that, but agree on a lot of other things, is something I really appreciate about Hive, says Cal of InLeo. And I love that, Cal. And boy, I almost feel that this helps me because I'm somewhere in between both of you. I don't think we should. I agree with Elmer. I don't think we should be doing it by any means necessary. But I don't necessarily agree with Elmer because the means by which your current proposal in Leo goes about onboarding, which is not user by user, but platform by platform, I actually think that the bear markets are good times to reach out and do the collabs. So I'm almost of the case that spending should be different in bear markets and bull markets. So, but we have another metric. And I wouldn't have thought of this metric if we didn't have this channel for Elmer to say and Cal to say and then Eco to say. So
freedom unit indicators. Eco, a nomad soul has been waiting patiently to
is that what that means? He wants to speak?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
good.
Sir.
We're going to put some rules on that. I just thought I was killing it. Okay, great. A nomad soul, you're up, man.
Yeah, after hearing out everyone speaking about like all of these topics, I think that the main positive thing that we can see right now, and that is, I think it's incredible for Hive in general, is that we are about to see what the community is made of. What do I mean by this? It's pretty simple. Are we going to keep sleeping on proposals? Are we going to keep, okay, so what I used to see before this shift in votes is that, so for example, let's just take one proposal out of all of the proposals that are below the return one. So you might have one that has, let's say, 20 million hive power below the 20 million high power, and then the return proposal was around, I don't know, 35. It was 30 a couple of weeks ago. So let's say that it was 30 and this proposal is at 20. So it gets a big vote and it goes to 40. And then the proposal makers might think, oh yeah, we're off the hook. We're 10 million hive above the return proposal, so it's going to be fine. Let's get to work. But did the community really get behind the proposal? Maybe they didn't because they had 20 million. So I think that this shift, this market moving move, you could call it, it's actually going, and I hope it does, it's going to wake up a lot of people who maybe they didn't care about governance in general, or maybe they didn't state their opinion in things because, oh, my vote doesn't matter. But now that the return proposal is so high, they're going to be like, oh, every vote matters. And I think that's the beautiful side about Hive. We are not Ethereum, that we have like 10 whales controlling 80% of the supply. We're not Bitcoin, where you could call it decentralized, but there are many movers right now, Binance, MicroStrategy, governments, etc., that control a lot of stakes. So on Hive, it's different. On Hive, we have the little guy has 1,000 Hive, but if you get 100, then you have the same voice as someone who has 100,000 Hive, and it's not that hard to get Hive right now. Like Elmer said, it's time to power up. So I guess my point here is that I would love to see the community get more involved, and I mean nobody can find out what block trade's idea is. But I do hope that this means that every little guy and every project, every dApp, every witness will double down on the message that one of the most, and for me, it's the most important thing about Hive is the decentralization and the fact that your voice matters and the fact that everyone getting involved in our governance system is important. Doesn't matter how much high power you have or how many days you've been in the blockchain, you have to get involved. So yeah, I just hope that this means that we will have 1,000 more votes from different spans of high power on every single proposal, because that would mean they care. That would mean that you know we are fighting the good fight, so to speak. So yeah, that's my take in these whole moves that we've seen in the DHF.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. I just wanted to. The thing is, Ed said block trades is like Ganda, but I don't know if Ed knows the coder of the return proposal when we, came over from Steam. GTG is Gandalf. It's not block trades is just supporting literally Gandalf, the Gray, on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Where did you write that?
So if you'll entertain me just briefly, I am a
How could I
servant
not?
of the secret fire, the wielder of the flame of Anor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Udon, go back to the shadow. You cannot pass. Just to add that in there, and what an interesting bit of convergence this morning.
Deep Web3 Secrets. This is the only place on the internet to get this sort of stuff. We got Addicted in the house. Addicted, welcome, man. We got game theory in play. I believe the next few days we'll see the return proposal float down. About 5 million gap between VSC and the return proposal. What do you see? I mean, what is the follow-up game theory? Do you think people will activate, or you think people are still asleep? Will this call them to action?
Is this thing on?
It's on.
All right. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I just found out about this 5 seconds ago. But Block Trades is probably the most professional person on the entire network. So if he does something like this, he did it for a damn good reason. And I definitely have to write a post on this, but it's a pretty big
Oh, you mean
flex.
professional in supporting the value plan despite nobody else supporting it apart from him and 4 other people? That's very professional there, definitely.
I mean, his vibe is just more corporate, more like.
Well, that's very true then, because that's what corporate does, right?
Let me see, Elmer. Yeah. Do you want to bridge into corporate corruption? I mean, I appreciate it. I can bring you back around, but let's not bicker right now, because there's a lot of good game theory going on. You know what I mean? That sounds to me like.
Oh no, I'm not bickering.
Okay.
I mostly agree. I'm just saying that I have a different definition of professional. I just wanted to clarify what I felt like. I didn't think that was professional.
Yeah, it's such a big flex on a network that's supposed to be decentralized. If you're gonna look at it that way, then it's very unprofessional to be like, yeah, I run this bitch. Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, type of vibe. But also, it kind of ties back to something that I wanted to say for a long time, which is, I brought this up a couple times before. I think you should be able to downvote stuff on the return proposal. You can't individually downvote stuff. All you can do is downvote everything with the return proposal. You can't individually downvote certain proposals, which I think is really stupid. We've done all these flag wars and we've done all this, had all this drama, basically justifying having downvotes, and then we make this system that can't be downvoted, and it's that's stupid to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why it exists and why people are flocking to it, because they realize that they're resistant to being downvoted now.
Well, let me just say this. Just to step back a second to block trades. I think what Addicted said was appropriate, perhaps. Professional is not the right word. I just want to say that in terms of project management, block trades is a PM in a room full of devs. I don't know if that is a meaningful statement to everybody, but he's the adult in the room. I don't know what professional means, but it's a good point here of a missing piece. Seems pretty obvious. Seems low-hanging fruit. Seems like they could fund a $300,000 development for a year to add downvotes to the DHF. Why haven't we done that yet? Okay, so, but the question is,
$300K?
No one's
on block trades.
You're gonna pay $300K to do that?
I wouldn't, but I'm just saying we funded all sorts. Why hasn't Howo done a year for that? You know what I'm saying?
Just on block trades, play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I would say we could all agree, for the most part, block trades would be viewed by everybody on the blockchain as having the best interest of the blockchain itself at heart, and it's about everything he does, even if now and again he does do something for the personal.
Well,
I mean,
I
believe
believe
every
has he
single
made a
value plan
statement?
proposal for the last couple of years is
Listen,
not now and then. It's also a very systemic and large issue, and I think that ignoring that is kind of leaning on gaslighting at this point.
Elmer,
I don't
hold
think we
on.
should
Everybody
ignore
stop. This is my podcast, Deep Web3 Secrets. And Elmer, we either need to talk now specifically about value plan, or you need to stop saying value plan every time. That's what I mean by bickering. Like, I get it, value plan. Do you want to talk about value plan right now? Let's do it. Go. Rip it open if you'd like.
No, I'm just talking about people's observation. I don't think that we should give him a free pass just because he has the largest stake. I simply use value plan as an example.
Well, I understand.
My opinion there.
But I
my
know.
opinion there.
Yeah. The Hive. Are you trying to say something, the Hive?
Yeah, please. My opinion there on block trade is a general overview of what everybody have. My view on the DHF goes much deeper, and right from the beginning, I labeled it as fraud. So I am more for abandoning that, and through the community, including yourself, and we will oppose many things, but including yourself, we should all get involved and discuss the ability to create an alternative to the DHF fund, so we can stop talking about the wrongs of it and start delivering.
Okay, perfect bridge. Thank you, the Hive. Okay, but that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Hold on, guys. Let me just let's do some. Let's get a line going in the Discord here, chat. We got Cal. He would like to propose a question, but here's the thing. I get that a lot of people don't like value plan, and I don't like a number of other things, and I specifically have very specific criticisms of value plan, who gave me $600 last year, with which I onboarded $1 million kid, John Tomaszewski. It's not, the idea of value plan isn't wrong. It's the execution. It's a management problem. And unless you want to go and talk about each one of these things, I would prefer to skip over the surface of the lake, knowing that every one of these stupid projects has problems, and that's exactly what the game theory is flushing out right now. But I wish we would stay on the topic. But here's the thing. We need to define our topic. So I'm happy to go to that topic. But the only way we're going to talk about value plan is if we break it down. Because I know some details about Latin America. And maybe you know something about a rally car. I don't know what you know. But the problem is talking too generically about this for too many years. Every project has probably some graft in it. The real question is, what are people's next game theory moves? So, Addicted, 2 minutes for you, then we're going to bring Cal on, okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something real fast. I'm going to post it. When we first forked, I wrote this post. You can see it's dated on March 2020, like right when we forked. And I was fucking pissed that we did not delete the Ninja Mine and that we threw it in the DHF. Like, that was so inappropriate. And I was like, this is going to be terrible. Like, a bunch of elitists are going to be controlling the Ninja Mine and like funneling a bunch of money that we don't have. We don't have this money. All of our money is trapped in these liquidity pools with very thin spreads. So like putting a bunch of money in the DHF and being like, oh, it's for development. It's like, no, you're stealing from the community. We don't have that money. It doesn't exist. All those coins were printed out of thin air. We don't have the liquidity to support it. So like the DHF is not a problem. The Ninja Mine is the problem. And now we have a bunch of, maximalists, like Hive maximalists that are like, oh, we don't have a corporation, we don't have a CEO, we don't have a pre-mine. Well, we do. The pre-mine is in the DHF and it's being exploited. So, but like I brought this up so long ago that I'm kind of like over it, and now that it's like a thing now, it's kind of weird for me because everyone's super mad about it now, and I'm like, I dealt with that like 4 years ago. It's not really that big of a deal for me anymore.
Cast it into the fire. Okay, but we live in this world, and so let's talk to Cal about, but hopefully a question or a phrase it in some way about next moves. I'm tired of talking about what happened yesterday. Personally, not that there aren't 100 posts to write, because I do write history and documentation posts, but I want to talk about the game theory moving forward. Cal, definitely reference past speakers, but try to end your comments in a forward-looking way for me, please.
Yeah, many people, agree or disagree with a lot of the things I say. And I think, as I always tend to echo, like I did earlier and also on that last Crypto Cola show, one thing that's great about Hive that proves, that it's decentralized is that people have differing opinions, but the same long-term goal. So, I'm going to say something and I don't want it to be taken under the context of, that Inleo does have a proposal, but I just wanted to make it more of a general question to consider is, prior to this vote to the return, and Eco, you were saying something that's more forward looking and what happens next. Prior to the return vote, Block Trades was voting 13 out of 14 of the funded projects on the DHF. And if he would have abstained from voting entirely, 12 out of 13 of those projects wouldn't be above the return. So my question to people, and taking any biases, and I won't even give you my opinion on it, is if someone has 26 million worth of power and the return is only 35 million, should they abstain entirely from voting? And that's just the that's the question if you want to look forward to the game theory, Eco.
I love it, and my personal view is that besides maybe the return proposal floating downward, I would love to see Block Trade's next moves being removing all his votes from every proposal, and then maybe even backing off the return himself. I don't know. His moves are his moves, but I would love to see him particularly step away from the DHF part of the governance. And that's with my, I'm an ignorant savage. I don't know anything. That's just what I see as being a really nice game theory going forward. But obviously he did this move to shake us up. Who's waking up? I see Azur's here. Can we get him? Can somebody type to him? Get him on the chat. Get him in here, man. Why isn't he listening?
He's just talking about encrypted memos to get the stuff funded.
Well, I have a de-encryptor tool, but the thing is, lot of details. No, Azers probably wants to talk about some details. But, yeah, okay, why? All right, that's cool. No problem. No problem, Azers.
We have to defend people's stake, have the right how they like. But when you consider something like the DHF, would it not be a better idea that, okay, if you have 1 to 10,000 HP, but you vote at 1 to 10 to 25,000, you lose a 0.001. And then as it goes, if you have 1 million, you're losing it 0.012 million. So a better tier system, but something like that where there's, yeah, when you go over 25 million, your next million isn't giving you 1 million vests on you. Probably only giving you about 25 of the 100 million you should get. That, so the more you have, you still get a stronger vote, and you're still more powerful. But it doesn't have a big an impact. It doesn't take as many people of a lower value to match that amount free.
Well, in terms of like math changes, man, there's so many possibilities, and maybe even somebody should put together a post again. I mean, is it the case that we should each have unlimited proposal votes, or should we only be able to vote for 3 or 2? You know, why is it that we vote for 30 witnesses, but there's 21 consensus? Anyways, a lot of different game theory on numbers. I don't really want to get into that, but I do see Mahid Yadi. I'd love for him to type something in the chat. You know, how do you feel this morning? Good morning. Good morning. There's no more money for half. Today, at least. You know, tomorrow's another day. But were you informed? Did somebody tell you? Did you know this was going to happen? How does it make you feel? As a sociologist, I love to ask these questions. And we got Lord Butterfly in here. We got Lord Butterfly. So, you know, just write something in the chat if you want to turn on your mic. Very cool, guys. Very cool. We are no problems. Good, man. Let's see. Here's the thing. We're a scrappy bunch, folks. We're a scrappy bunch. So we'll continue to move forward on that. Okay, so Addicted. Game theory this for me. Will people buy more Hive because of this move?
Will people buy more Hive? I mean, I don't think it matters. I think cutting the supply like this is like enough to push the price up by itself. So how much money is this? Like everything, almost everything gets converted into Hive and sold, right?
Last week we were funding 19,000 a day, maybe almost 20 or 20, around 20, and now it's 300 or 400. So, you know, it's a day.
That's a huge amount for us. We don't operate on very much liquidity.
And Mark is commenting about I have been critical just recently in the after show, which I've yet to put on YouTube. I should start putting that on YouTube already, because today we got the Deep Web3 Secrets Emergency DHF podcast, and why are we not flash passing proposals? You know, if somebody needs 10K or 20K, boom, give it to them or don't give it to them. You know, why are we doing yearly drips? And I also think that, anyways, HBD, the way I spend it on Hive doesn't get converted so much. Like, I have had to increase the amount of HBD I keep liquid, because as I'm paying developers and stuff, they have the HBD and they like that HBD, or they don't. They buy Hive with it and they power it up, whatever is their feeling. But I don't know. Nobody on my team is like dumping right now. Everybody's like waiting for $1. So I'm not sure. I guess when it's free money, you sell. You know, we went through that with the SPS. I just think of it because Azercon's in here. But, you know, the original investors got it at a penny, so it didn't matter. Just dump it, whatever the price is. Okay, so anybody want to get on the mic? Marky, you want to say something in that lovely accent? Marky's typing. Why don't you get on the mic, man? I love your voice. That isn't coming up it. Well, It'll definitely be different. It will definitely be different now. They were doing a lot of, I don't even know how much of it was shady. Obviously, the volume numbers were shady, but they were doing a lot of Steam arbitrage. So I'm wondering if Steam is going to unpeg from Hive more now or less. It'll be really interesting to watch. But my understanding of that, of the upbid analysis, is that they were like cross-trading it with SBD, Steam, Hive, Hive Dollar. Somehow they were, with other exchanges and stuff, they were like manipulating the two of them together somehow. But mostly on other people's volumes. I think they were squeezing and stuff. Yeah, we'll see. It was shady, but I don't know. I mean, like, people don't do that to lose money. You know what I mean? I believe they were manipulating other people's buys and sells more than, like, they were creating a pump because of how they managed the arbitrage liquidity. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
I assume that there's some kind of like groups. You know those paid channels people like promise, oh, follow me and copy my trades and I'll make you money. I feel like there must be a lot of those in South Korea where, you know, a couple rich guys will have like a following and people will copy what they do and they use their own followers as like exit liquidity. That's the only real way I could see them making a good amount of money on these pump and dumps. Turning it into a full-on degen gambling scenario.
Is the most, I think that's exactly right. In fact, I recently have had inundated with just locally people, because locally people come to me and they say, hey, is this a scam? It looks really good. They're going to give me so much money back. And they're always a scam, you know, quantum pyramid mechanics, crypto, you know, it's always a scam. But more and more recently, it's been this copy trade stuff. Copy trade. And God, I can't, like, it's like, yeah, that's, maybe you can make money, but bro, that's probably a scam. Like, I have a harder time saying it's definitely a scam, but because trading is real, right? I try to, like, hey, why don't you do that on Binance, you know? I don't know. So that, anyways, sociologically, that may be closer to the truth than anything I've heard about Upbit ever. That they are pumping their own bags into their followers with copy trading. Marquis.
I think one plausible explanation also is that the exchange operators have an in-house team of people that trade against their customers, and obviously creating a lot of price moves encourages more speculation and therefore volume, which is the main way that they make money long term. Obviously, if they're trading against their customers, then they're making a lot of money there too.
Would they be using perpetuals to do that?
No, I mean they would be just making money from the volume and the commissions on the volume.
Right.
So
right. Because
they
when you drive the price up,
if you liquidate people on perps as an exchange, they are making money from that. As far as I understand it.
I didn't mean. This is like obviously a more recent thing for Hive, but this has been happening on Hive for years prior to the existence of perp market, right?
Well, okay, let me bridge this topic.
Before we had perp.
Yeah, let me bridge the topic here because just recently Hive has seen some perpetual futures markets listings, even without order books or spot. But we have seen Upbit operate over a period of years, even when Steam was around. So, or when Steam was the thing. So, no, they don't. They have just the books. So, these are unrelated cases. Now, I love what Cal is saying here about exchanges being able to make money, because obviously, either case, exchanges are able to be benefited. But in the very present case, it seems to be new, perpetuals future market, except the internal market is a 3.5 days perpetual futures market because ever since hard fork 21 or 22 when we completed the ARB circle. So technically, it's always been an internal low liquidity 3.5 day futures market. And now we're just getting some. I think Addicted has it right. Somebody who wants to convert would short and to lock in a price for Hive, right? Is that what we just decided, Addicted?
It's kind of confusing. You have to be more like I wasn't totally understanding what you just said.
So the perpetual markets on like Bybit or MEX are going to. Who is shorting? We asked the question, who is shorting? And the answer would be somebody who's converting, right? So they're locking in a price?
You could do it, but it would be better to just use perps. Because like if you're using the internal market, you're getting like very low leverage. And with perpetuals, you can do like an X20 or like an X100. Like if you could pump
it's
Hive,
also not very precise.
Yeah, if you could pump
because
Hive
you're running on a three-day average, right? The convert price.
Yeah. Like you can exploit it, but it wouldn't make sense to when you can just manipulate the spot price with hardly any money. And then I don't understand how we have so much volume or in the perps market. Like somebody's providing millions and millions of dollars to the perps market, which can be manipulated on the spot market for very cheaply. So I'm surprised there's not like a ton of manipulation going on. I mean, there probably is, but
well, that's the thing. We're pretty sure there is, and it's very interesting.
Because if you can pump Hive for like a couple $1 million, and then you can long the perpetuals market like X100, you know it's going to go up, so you can get like these X100 gains for like
but you need to have the liquidity to close your position, though. Right?
Yeah, but these perps markets have tons of liquidity. Like I don't know where it's coming from.
But the open interest is tiny. The open interest is 15 million. The volume doesn't matter because that's just people opening and closing all the time.
No, I'm not talking about the volume.
Total open interest. The open interest is 15 million across all venues right now. That's nothing. That's like, 15, 20% of the market cap.
Yeah, it's
like
just
sometimes the volume and open interest can be on derivatives. It could be multiples of the market cap.
Yeah, the amount of liquidity being provided on perps is like X10 spot. So like, I just think it would be really easy to manipulate it. Like I'm looking at it right now. If you put $1 million into the spot market right now, it would pump Hive by like a penny. $1.5 million. It would pump it by a penny. And if you put $1.5 million on the spot market, it's going to go up like a crazy amount.
Yeah, but that's because spot market has like a lot of trailing stops and stop limit orders that you don't see in the order books. That's how I trade, by the way.
Well, by the way, let's talk about this. If we were to put together a portfolio to, go all the way around, and I mean, okay, let's call it market manipulation or whatever. But I mean, what is the ARB here? So there's an internal market, there's perpetuals, and you've got the spot markets, which are very low liquidity. So I'm going to pump it on the spot market, but where's my ARB? Where's the circle? Walk me through that, Addicted.
Well, okay, I'm looking at the spot market right now. You could jack it up to 40 cents with, I don't know, like there is a bunch of hidden stuff in there. You don't know who's going to dump when you start pumping it, but there's only like, just like napkin mathing it right now. There's only like $30,000 that it would take if you just market bot Hive for 30K. It would go up like 10 cents. Like right now on MXC at least, and then the ARB happens. There's more liquidity on Binance. I'm looking at MXC right now. But
yeah, I mean, then the ARBs happen, but there's a lot of activity. So you might even do, 5 spurts of 20K, over the course of a period. You're spearfishing.
I'm just saying if the liquidity on the perps is 1.5 million and that's going to pump at 1 cent, and then you look at the liquidity on spot and like 30K is going to pump it 30%, it seems like it would be really easy to like just bully around. And I don't understand how we're getting this much liquidity in perps. Honestly, I don't know who's providing it, because it just seems like it just seems like a huge risk. Like, who are these market makers?
Okay, so let's try to wrap this back.
The venue themselves.
Yeah, let's try to wrap this back around into DHF. Unlikely that the exchanges are going to vote on the proposals anytime soon. But, if that happens, we'll be having a different conversation anyway. Yeah, okay, so the real question is this. Will this move instigate any agitators to power up more Hive, to vote more proposals, or whatever you're going to do? I mean, I do think that the return proposal will start floating downward as some people reevaluate their voting on it. And it's about 5 million we saw to get VSC voted now. Will VSC go power up some Hive power? Do you think that'll happen? I mean, is that
I think everyone on Hive is very poor. Like, we don't have a lot of money here. We don't have a lot of wins on Hive. The best trade I ever made was holding Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin into Hive when Bitcoin was 40K and Hive was 13 cents. That was pretty fun. That was like the best trade I've ever made.
Nice. Now, did you go back the other way? That was now I'm looking for 80K. Like, I'll probably start DCA at 100 or 120, but go into Bitcoin again and then swap back when it's 500,000. My Bitcoin will get me 500,000 Hive or something.
I don't know. Like, I feel like people on Hive don't respect Bitcoin. Like, a lot of people don't respect Bitcoin because they're like, it's boring grandpa coin. But like, if you are in it for a while, it goes up. So I feel like if you have other coins that you care about, you should have a big bag of Bitcoin so you can get more of it when times are tough. Because it seems like times are tough for the alts way more than they are for Bitcoin.
I love that. Now I want to take it back into the DHF because we're losing it on Bitcoin here. We're losing the audience here. So we have Azure here, a big proponent of a lot of things and ideas. One of the things I love the most is that he publishes metrics, because we can talk about metrics. We could talk about numbers. I don't like single or even multiple variant, numbers that AI uses without humans involved. I love to be the human to read the numbers. But, I really am interested, and I'd love, maybe Marky wants to say something. He's opened his mic here. You got that great accent. Block Trade's made a move today, right? And so do you think people are going to activate, or are they going to just apathy themselves to sleep, or what? What do you think, Marky?
I don't see anyone powering up to do anything about it at all.
Boom! Mic drop. Okay. Well, that's sad then. Then we don't have the right champions, right? We don't have the right champions. So maybe new champions will emerge.
Well, I do think there is a positive outcome, and it doesn't have to be about people purchasing and powering up. It is that we will get a lot more engagement from stakeholders on this governance stuff, which obviously with more participation means that we can have more dialogue like we're having right now, and more conflict, more discussions, and working things out, and ultimately that's a good thing, right?
Nailed it, Elmer. Nailed it. And thank you so much for your participation, particularly. You've said a lot of great things today. And I just want to remind everyone, this is Deep Web3 Secrets. I am uploading. I'm set up to record here. I can do audio engineering for anybody's show. I record now the Crypto and Cola. I have the channel, but I could send you the videos too if you want your own videos. But like anybody can do a show in this channel, and we can have 24/7 radio shows here in this channel. But anyways, Deep Web3 Secrets, guys. So I'm recording right now this discussion, and I don't know, have we decided to print another shitcoin? Is that the result? We're not gonna power up Hive. We're gonna print more shitcoins. Marky, what do you think about new champions? Who do you see up and coming that might be a Hive champion in the future? I know you look around a lot. No idea. No idea. Okay, hasn't been looking around recently. Champion for I don't know, for Hive, I guess. Who's in the house? Tib Fox. How you doing, man? Yeah, Nomad. Step up. I'm gonna try to figure out who's in the. I bet Lassie will lead it. Nomad, you're on the mic now, man.
Yeah, so one thing is certain. So whenever there's a DAO proposal outside of Hive, let's say Ethereum or Solana or whatever, I mean, Solana is very centralized, etc. But when other chains want to prompt their users to get involved in governance because there's a new proposal, whatever it is, they usually use Twitter, or they use several platforms that are not Web3 based, but they are used. You connect your wallet and then you can cast your vote, and then they use that to measure. But one thing that goes with governance in other blockchains is that you need to have a certain threshold of people participating, and then a certain threshold of yes to for the proposal to actually go through. But on Hive, we have something, that like everyone knows it. We have a social platform, right? So we have many front ends, and we very smartly are leveraging Discord since 2017. We have the Rocket Chat, we have Mattermost. Some people have Telegram. We do have ways to, spread any kind of, hard fork votes or DHF votes, etc. But I think that considering how easy it is to spread information about any kind of governance decision, I don't think we have enough people getting involved. I would love to see, I don't know, let's say 80 million Hive power getting involved. Of course, there's a lot of dormant stake that will never get involved. There's a lot of alt accounts from whales, and they have an alt which is an even bigger whale. But the point is, before, like I said a few minutes ago, before this whole thing happened, a lot of the proposals were passed, were very low without block trade's vote. I would love to see everyone at 40 million, and then the return at 60, and then people actively telling their communities, the user base, hey, get involved in governance, etc. And we have the tools, we have front ends, we have a chat. We don't have to go through hoops on X, Twitter, on Telegram, trying to gather people to get involved in governance. So I think that we should be doing better. Like, we should be, as dApps, as front ends, as witnesses, as big stakeholders who are here, we should be encouraging more involvement in the DHF. Because if we are a social network that only has like 20-25% of the stake of the supply participating in governance, then it's just not going to work out, So yeah, that's my piece. Echo, are you there? I don't even know if I'm not listening to you or if you just went MIA.
Oh, and I thought I was talking. He said he had to step off for just a moment and he will be back. I was just reading off a couple things and I'll do that again. Marky with the Rye observation says any one of you can be the next block trades. Just power up. And addicted following up with that says we're all Lassie Cash now. But that is kind of the crux of the matter. That is the way the mechanism works. Either bring the hive power to the table or persuade someone with the hive power that what you are doing is a good thing. And so I'm going to bring it back around and just ask if we've been effective persuaders. Have we fallen out of the habit on selling? Have we relied too much on selling the sizzle and not selling the substance and developing that consensus? Persuasion is a muscle, and unless we practice it and communicate the value of what we want to do, we do lose that muscle. Marky says, I want him tucking me in at night and telling me everything. Well, Marky, it will be all right. It will be all right, sir. And I will get my tuck you in proposal up to the DHF or to value plan by the end of the day. Maybe I should wait for the return proposal to come down a bit first. Eco, are you back? Can I turn this back over to you for substance rather than my sizzle?
You're so good at the sizzle, though, and thank you for picking up the mic. I thought, anyways, thank you. I needed that. Okay, so the chat was recorded, and we've had a really good chat today about many things, and I believe that coin voting, he's got the voice, man. He's got the voice. That's why I brought him in for Deep Web3 Secrets. That's my straight man, and we are going all the way to Washington. This is the ex-president of Hawaii, Aloha Ed. He's a big deal on Hive. Hive didn't know it yet, but he is. So we've got big players here. We are talking about the DHF. Generally, we've all agreed that Black Trades has made a move, and now it's our turn to make our moves. We've made some predictions, but I don't know, Lord Butterfly, how do you feel? Do you want to type in the chat? Do you want to come on the mic? Will the projects continue to be active and do the best with what they have? Marky's got a great voice. He does. I want to make movies with Marky. Okay. But so September, October, we are doing a Lucha Libre thing. We're gonna do some Hive branding. I'm trying to put together an event. You'll hear more about it. But we're gonna have, if Marky doesn't come, we're gonna put a Marky head on somebody. I think the one he's got right now is good. Yep, we'll do Lord Butterfly, come on the mic.
Hey guys.
Hey.
What's up? I just wanted to ask you if Block Trades came on earlier today and gave his explanation on why he removed the votes or he voted the return. Did he talk about it, or was this just happening in the background and we were just discussing it on chat here?
That's exactly what's going on. First of all, my opinion, we'll see. Black Trades has not come on. My opinion is that Black Trades don't need to say nothing. And here's why. I think he has said it already. What he said was, good luck. Is that what movie is that from? He's kind of good luck. So the question is, what will we? I believe people will continue to analyze. This is a 24/7 governance game, right? This is not 4-year cycles. The thing about open source is we come together in a crisis. So I believe the return proposal will fall. Next up is VSC, about 5 million away. Will VSC power up? Will they do marketing? I believe some people might start returning, deciding to lower the return proposal to float a little bit lower. We'll see. But generally, what would you do? What will you do, Lord Butterfly? And what should Howo do?
Well, I mean, I kind of shared my opinion on a lot of these proposals. Personally, I wouldn't fund even half of them. Even with VP that I'm working with, I'm always trying to get the idea across that we should basically defund everything. But yeah, there's a few, I'd call them gems, specifically VSC, with which I've been working on with for the last couple of months. We've had some actual success, specifically with talking with large investors, external investors. Currently, we're on our fourth call with a specific VC. I won't share the name here, but yeah, I've been working with them for a while. I think they definitely deserve to be funded, and they're probably the only project right now that I think actually has a product that could potentially bring in investors. Everything else is either focused on users or doesn't really work towards getting a product that with a business plan or anything else outside of Hive.
Now,
The business
can I
idea for
interrupt
most
you,
of these
please?
projects on
Can
Hive
I?
is to
Hey,
get funded by the DHF, unfortunately.
bro, let me interrupt you. I love that you spoke specifically about VSC, and I want to ask you specifically. I'm trying very hard not to allow anybody to talk generally about anything because I don't care about your general thoughts about anything. I care about your very specific thoughts about VSC, and because it is literally this is the game. We're playing the game. VSC's up. It was Leo's turn yesterday. Now VSC's up. Howo's next. But okay, so very specifically VSC. I love this. I've seen this guy. What's his name? Vaultec, reaching out. I've seen him on podcasts. I've seen him doing stuff. I don't know exactly what the stuff is yet. But you mentioned venture funding. Why did the DHF gave them some money already? Has VSC gotten to the point where it may not need any more venture funding? And from the DHF?
No, we're not working. Look, so when it comes to these VCs, I'm not talking to them in terms of getting them part of the supply or getting them to invest into the token itself. It's basically an liquidity investment. They would be buying HBD and placing into the VSC protocol to secure the non-EVM transfers on VSC. So it's basically what everybody else is going to be doing. So it's a liquidity thing. It's not venture capital funding in that sense. But since these guys have the money, I'm talking to them directly. That's the plan right now. Also with some other conferences.
This is fantastic. So, do you think that if you make a post or two about this, I mean, 5 million is nothing. VSC, it could be funded tomorrow. Do you think this will motivate VSC to do a little more marketing? Maybe you should be doing more marketing about all this HBD salesmanship.
I am doing. Can you hear me? Seems to connect it to my car.
Yes,
am I on?
You're on. I'm just in control. Don't worry, man. You got it. Keep talking.
What was the question? I mean, I've been talking about it for a while now, trying to explain to people
I love it. Well,
we have something that is called the HBD, and that something can be a basis for our economy going forward, and that's something that we can sell that would indirectly increase the price of Hive. So there is a rhyme and reason to everything I'm doing with VSC. There is a plan, there is a how to do it, and what we expect to achieve from it. That kind of plan is something I would like to see from other projects that are being funded or not funded right now, for them to have some kind of idea of how are you going to bring in investment from the outside. What's the plan? What's your plan? Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of them have any plans. They kind of think, well, it's gonna all happen. It's gonna come from the air. Um, no plan behind it. So in a sense, I'm happy that most of them were defunded, and maybe that will be a kick in the ass for some of them to actually change their approaches moving forward.
I love that. I love that. And even though it was generic, I let you say it, but very good. And I hope it happens to all. And the first one, it should be VSC. I just learned today you're working with them, so I would love to see. This is the attitude I'd love to see from VSC, because 5 million is nothing. 5 million in votes. In fact, it's only 2.5 million if they remove from the return proposal and vote on VSC. So what are the next steps for VSC to explain that, exactly what you just said? Like, we are reaching out to investors, and instead of selling the pre-mining the token supply, we're able to talk to them about investing in HBD and parking their liquidity. To me, that's a clear, beautiful case for VSC. Have you made that post? And make the post in the sense that this should be funded, because if it isn't, we're tempted, incentivized to build a worse product. And the reason the DHF funding is needed, in your opinion, is that this is, the difference. I love that very specific difference. Addicted, I see you're open. Any feedback on Lord Butterfly's comments? Very enlightening today to have him say those things.
I haven't looked into VSC as much as I should have. I'm still not 100% clear how the HPD collateral stuff is going to work, and I don't know if it's appropriate to be explaining technical stuff on this one.
Oh, definitely skip over the surface. Please do not dive into the lake. Do that later. But in terms of DHF funding, it's only 5 million away. So, what do you think about what Lord Butterfly said? Is that something that he should just be marketing more for, or what do you think?
Well, this is a thing that just happened, and I feel like there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions going on, and I don't think, I think that if BlockTrades hasn't said anything yet, he's going to say something, or I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like this for very long.
He's not going to say anything. I wouldn't. If I were him, I wouldn't say anything until next week, Thursday. But we'll see what happens. We will see what happens on that front. So it is.
That's just not a long time.
Well, it's a huge amount of time to make podcasts about. What I mean to say is that it's a fourth dimensional game. People are accustomed. We get riled up every 4 years about governance in the United States, and then it's every 2 years because of the midterms. And this is a 24/7 vote. It's incredible. BlockTrades could remove his vote tomorrow and then put it on Wednesday. I mean, it's fascinating world that we live in. Okay, so here is our conclusion so far for today. I think I'm going to wrap up at least this first episode. I need to take a coffee break. Deep Web3 Secrets. BlockTrades has voted the return proposal. Everybody, almost everybody who spoke today has agreed that there was some amount of graft. Probably not the ones they liked, but definitely the ones they didn't like. And we all agree about that, at least. And we are pending. What are the next moves? Will people unvote the return proposal? Will projects that are now not funded begin marketing to actual Hive users instead of just getting the BlockTrades vote? Will BlockTrades remove their vote from any of the proposals and the return proposal? It's all on the docket. I'm closing down. Deep Web3 Secrets. The mic is open. Let's keep this channel flowing.